Welcome to the Fantasy Football Clown Show. I'm your host, Ed Smith. Today, I'm along in the chairs with Justin and Brad, and we're going to recap Week 5. If you would, hit the subscribe button, the like button, and then answer any question or ask any questions in the comments below. We really appreciate that. We'll try to get to those and answer those as best we can. Starting with bringing in my co-host, Justin, want to talk about some of the injuries that you saw happen. First off, Teddy Bridgewater. What did you see happen with him, and what do you think is happening in Miami with their quarterbacks?
Well, Teddy Bridgewater appeared to get a concussion during that game in the first quarter, and it appeared that he was after play got up and was stumbling around. Well, stumbled a little bit, and they said they went out and pulled him. And to my understanding from some other news that I heard is he didn't really have a concussion. He was a little banged up, but it's something that we're gonna have to watch because of, I think, from going forward, if you have any kind of head trauma possible, they're gonna sit you no matter what, pull you, since the Tua deal.
Do you feel like Tua or Teddy will be back this week, or do you think it'll be Skylar Thompson?
I think it'll be Skylar. From my understanding, it's a 2-game rule to sit out if you have concussion or suspected to have concussion, at least.
So really trying to put some time there in place. Baker Mayfield, looks like his high ankle sprain is worse than maybe even anticipated or what we saw in the boot after the game. What are you hearing on Baker Mayfield?
Baker Mayfield, high ankle sprain. Yeah, we reports say that it was in a boot walking around, but he got a couple more opinions, and it appears that he will not have to have surgery, but he's looking 2 to 6 weeks to be in the boot, at least a couple of weeks, and then start walking around on his own.
And so we should expect to have
I think
PJ Walker start there. Is that
PJ Walker? I think he's the next man up, but I think they're going to take a long look at Darnold to see what's going on with him, because I think they're just leaving him on there. Just because of the head coach. I don't know if the head coaches that didn't like him there, but since his departure there might be some mix-up.
And we'll get to breaking down the termination of the coach in Carolina here a little bit later in the show. Russ Wilson, as we're just hitting all the quarterbacks here, Russ Wilson, anything on him or anything? Do we expect that he'll play Monday night, or do you think there's more smoke there than what we kind of know? And once the practice reports come out on Thursday, we're going to see some non-participation, which will lead towards a not playing on Monday night. What do you think is going to happen with Russ?
Well, I know Russ went and got a cortisone shot, and I've heard that usually pitchers get that shot to help deal with that labrum tear. If I'm correct on that, but it's usually rest only that would help that, and your throwing shoulder. So I think Russ will try to play through it, but personally, I think he needs to sit and heal. He's not doing the team any good. They're not going anywhere if he's playing like this.
And then, do you expect to see anything? Do you expect to see Bailey Zappi play in New England this week, or do you think Mac Jones returns?
I think it's Bailey Zappi this week. I think they're going to give Mac Jones another week off from his high ankle sprain. Um, like I said, with the Baker, his line is 2-6. I know that I didn't read or hear anything they came out with Mac Jones' timeline, but I'm suspecting at least probably on the safe side another week, especially if they want to continue him with their franchise quarterback.
And then, as I feel like I'm hitting almost all the quarterbacks here, but how about Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton? Anything on that front that you've heard as we film the show?
I haven't heard anything. I know Jameis Winston. Believe he had a limited practice last week, but was a game time decision, and they went ahead and sat him for the other quarterback there, and I think that he's going to sit again, and then I believe that'll force Michael Thomas to sit again.
So you expect to see Andy Dalton again this week there?
Yes, Andy Dalton.
Yes. And I'm just kind of looking over my list of quarterbacks that and Cooper Rush. We expect to see him one more week, and Dak come back.
I believe so, since they came out and said last week Dak has yet to start throwing. Can't even grip a ball with his throwing hand. That tells me that he's not quite ready. And why make the move if your franchise quarterback is fully healthy? So I definitely think Cooper Rush will make that start again.
So just kind of highlighting that on a high level. So that's 8 starting quarterbacks from day one that will no longer be starting this week in week 6. And then there's 4 quarterbacks that are on bye, and those actually were original starters. So basically that takes 12 of the 32 starting quarterbacks on week 1 out of the mix. And we didn't even add in Zach Wilson's return. So Joe Flacco had a 3-game stint in there that we haven't even really discussed. But just kind of looking at what we are there, we're 12 quarterbacks different, from 32, from those original 32 in week 1. So just kind of something to sort of think about as we have all the add ups and that's if just those things that we talked about go right. 2 running backs I just want to ask you a little bit about. And if you know some things about any of these running backs, Brad, just jump in as well. But let's start with Rashad Penny. What are you hearing about him, Justin?
I believe the broken tibia.
Okay.
So he's done for the year already here after week 5. We saw Kenneth Walker step in and have a pretty decent game there, filling in that for the running back role this past week. So I definitely think it's Kenneth Walker's time. So it's time to roll with him.
And then James Conner, what are you hearing about his injury? And I think just before we came on the air today, I'm seeing that there's some signings to the practice squad in Arizona, which tell of a running back, Corey Clement.
Yes.
So I think that there must be some more smoke there too with James Conner's injury and maybe Darrell Wannell Williams, as well. But are you hearing anything with James Conner?
Yeah. Other than that, I believe was it 2 weeks ago during the game that he tweaked his ankle, and I think it started there, and he should have set out a couple of weeks. He'll be coming back this week if he would have just went in and set out. And I think Benjamin is definitely going to be the starting running back there.
Okay.
And if it's out there in your home leagues, I know it's not out there in any of our Clownhead leagues. Definitely one to pick up.
And then I guess while we're talking about that, we had Deion Jackson that had a great week this week with Jonathan Taylor gone, and not sure when Jonathan Taylor comes back, if that's this coming week. And then also just kind of I know Brad's really in tune with Najee Harris and then his backup. I mean, is there anything going on with injuries to Jonathan Taylor or Najee Harris that either of you guys know about there injury wise?
I think they're just taking day by day with Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
I know we missed this last game in which Deion Jackson filled in fairly nicely for some of us, and I had a couple of shares with him, a couple of shares of him in some of my leagues, and I played him when Taylor was called out this last week here, and did fairly decent, was okay. Um, on the other one, I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
Hines did, of course, had the concussion during the game, and concussions. He's probably going to be out a few weeks.
Yeah, I think a couple weeks as well. I just want to add a little bit about. I was just kind of thinking as we were talking about that, to be prepared to maybe see a quarterback change in Indianapolis. I did hear from that they're at least contemplating bringing Nick Foles in to start because of Matt Ryan's ineffectiveness. So that could be coming down the pike. I did confirm that the Commanders seem to be very satisfied currently with Carson Wentz. So I know there was a little bit of smoke, around the press conference after the game that Coach Rivera was talking about, pretty frustrated with Carson Wentz. But I listened to an interview with him today, and he sure said the right things and kind of came back and made a comment. Now it was probably coach speak, but they're at least committed to Carson being the quarterback on Thursday night. That he said we needed to go 90 yards, and Carson took us very effectively 88. So, he wasn't the entire problem in that situation. But after games, we get frustrated and we want to win in the worst way. And, probably why Carson likes to play for him is what he said. So he at least came out, saying that he's a fighter and wants to win. So that was kind of why he said what he did. And so just kind of throw that to you. But I did hear also Frank Wright seems to be growing frustrated with Matt Ryan and some of the non-ability to throw down the field, and thought maybe Nick Foles, who's been a Super Bowl champion quarterback, might be able to add a spark. So, if they're going to, so that's something that might be coming down the pike. So if he's on the waiver wire in deep leagues, I guess I'd say, hey, go get Nick Foles. I mean, that's kind of the tip of the day, but that's where we are. That kind of wraps up, I think, all the injuries going on. It feels like that was a long segment here for us, but injuries are really happening as we approach week 6, approach the bye weeks. And now to just kind of talk about a recap of the DraftKings tournaments that we run each and every week. We had the Beat the Clown winner, which my score actually was 132.68, which is a fairly decent score for me. And I was able to beat co-host Justin this week, so pretty excited about that, getting him head-to-head this week. And the Camera 8 I also was able to take down. But D. Guz with 179.26 beat me, and this is his second time beating me. Zazula with a 158.2 beat me, and this is his third time beating me. And then GJ L. Reed with a 221.66 score, so a real tough score. This is the 5th time in 5 weeks that he's beaten me. So every week he just kind of takes my 10 and runs away with it. So I just kind of throw that out there that, he seems to just win against me. And kind of ironically, in the Clownhead tournament for the money, I actually finished 3rd this week. So this is my first time in the money or in the top 3. Guz won with a 199.56, and we'll kind of talk about his slate a little bit. But in second place, GJL Reed with a 175.14. So if he would have just played the team he played against me and had that 226, he would have just cashed in everything. So he must put a couple different lineups in, and he put the wrong one against me because 175 would have still beat me. So he should have just switched those lineups and and went with that. And then I had the 132.68. The winning lineup: Josh Allen, Pierce, the running back, ETN, Diggs, Lockett, and Corey Davis as the receivers, Jordan Akins as a tight end, and then Gabe Davis, so the Davis brothers, was in his flex, and then the Cowboys defense. And so as we say some of those players, I mean, Gabe Davis just had an incredible day this weekend, and having the Allen Diggs Davis stack, that seemed to make a lot of sense. So I can tell right away, he didn't need anything from Jordan Akins to make the world go around. And then any part of Geno Smith's offense with Lockett probably makes sense at this point. So just want to encourage you guys, jump in. Week 1, I think we had 18 of us in the Clownhead tournament. So I guess we want to get back to that point. So if you are watching this and you're part of the Clownhead community, thank you for that, for being a part of it. But jump in and try to take our money. I don't want to win. Apparently, I did get into third place, though. But come take that away from me next week. And as the bye weeks start, it can get a little easier, less players to go around. Looking at the Elite Eight, I just want to highlight some of the top scorers. We're going to come back to Division A, which was our top per scorer this week. But in Division B, we had Mucho with a 300.69. And Justin and Brad actually had Mucho ranked as the 2 seed or in second place. So both of them had that right. And Mucho has been he's 4-1 overall as a record, and then he's been the top scorer in Division B weeks 3 and 5. In Division C, Miller Time with a 299.53 with a record of 3-2, the 4 seed overall. He's been the top scorer in Division C weeks 1 and 5, and Miller Time wasn't even on our list for any of us, so we kind of missed it on Miller Time. MF Legend in Division D with a 309.79, a 3-2 record overall, the 4 seed, and this is his first time being a top scorer in Division D, Week 5. And let's see, MF Legend. None of us. Oh no, I'm sorry. Justin had MF Legend as his number 2 team, so Justin picking the right teams this week. Division E, Extreme Confidence, 295.77, 5-0 record. So really running the table here. The number 1 seed overall, weeks 4 and 5. So kind of taken off was the top team there, and none of us had Extreme Confidence. Division F, Turkleton, 324.70. So a real good score again, 5-0. Number 1 seed in Division F. Weeks 2, 4, and 5 were the top scorers, and we all had Turkleton as our number 1 team coming out of Division F.
Yep.
Division G, Shippa with a 289.60, 3-2 record, number 4 seed, weeks 4 and 5, so coming on late. And none of us had. Oh, I'm sorry. Justin had Shippa in first place. The rest of us did not. I keep missing Justin when I look over there at the screen. Division H, Hipster Killers, 275 with a 3-2 record. Number 4 seed, weeks 2 and 5 were the top scorers. And hipsters, none of us had Hipster Killers at all. Division A was where we had our top scorer in the Elite Eight this week. Wolfpack, 326.42, a 4-1 record overall, the number 2 seed. Weeks 1, 4, and 5 has been the top scorer in Division A. And none of us had the Wolfpack there. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Brad. He tries to talk with these managers of the teams and kind of get their build, how they're feeling, if they think they can go win $3,000. And so, Brad, what do you think about the Wolfpack team in Division A?
Yeah, I mean, I think his team is solid. Anytime you have Josh Allen, CMC, and Justin Jefferson as your top 3 guys, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. So they both kind of went off for him this week. All 3 of them went off for him this week. So that was a huge boost. He has Higbee in his tight end spot, who has been a very reliable tight end for cheap. Gabe Davis had a great game. So I think his team kind of fell right this week a little bit. I asked him if he thought he could sustain it, and he thought he could, even though he kind of faded tight end other than Higbee. And he also doesn't have a third quarterback really, except for Dalton. So he thinks his running back and receiving core is going to be able to take him to the end.
And I guess it's going to week 7 when he loses Allen. If he has Andy Dalton, or I see he has Bailey Zappi as well, maybe or Sam Darnold. So he's got a couple things that could just break right for that week 7 bye, and then hopefully by week 14 when Matt Ryan goes on bye, he kind of has figured out something else with maybe a backup quarterback or something that can take over or work its way through. And maybe giving up the 12 points that Matt Ryan puts up every week doesn't matter anyway. I see 64 though for Josh Allen, and so that's a big score. So that makes sense to me as to what happened there.
Yeah.
Taking a look at Clownheads 1 through 5. Clownheads 1, Jim's Instant Karma has the top spot, 261.45, 4-1 record, number 1 seed. Weeks 2 and 5 was the top score. All 3 of us had Jim's Instant Karma as our number 1 team out of that division, so I guess we kind of got that pegged right. Clownheads 2, Malahames comes away with the top spot, 247.96, and the 3 seed overall. Weeks 2, 3, and 5, she's been the top team. So 3 times been the top team there out of that spot. And Brad had her in second place in his overall rankings. Clownheads 3, Jack Powers. That seems to be a familiar ring to it. 261.52, 5-0 record, number 1 seed. Been the top team week 1, week 4, week 5. And it looks like we all had Jack Powers. I had him in this particular. I was looking at Clownheads too. We all had him there, but I'm the only person that had him in Clownheads 3 in the second spot. So we got him there. He has a 5-0 record. Clownheads 4, Jack Powers was the top team there as well. 269.42, 4-1 record, number 1 seed, weeks 4 and 5. So they're starting to take off there. And none of us had him in that division. And then Clownheads 5, Top Flight Hooker with a 280.75, 5-0 record, number 1 seed, weeks 1, 3, and 5. He's been the top team. And that's our top scorer out of Clownheads 1 through 5 is Clownheads 5, Top Flight Hooker. And so, again, I'll bring Brad back in to discuss this team and what he got from Top Flight Hooker.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, his team's looking pretty good. I mean, like you said, he's 5-0. He's number 1 in the league. He has a solid team. Guys like Dalvin Cook and Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams, Cortland Sutton, great core pieces to have. And then you add in the fact that he's got Kelsey and Andrews, the 1 and 2 tight ends, and scoring like this, he's probably going to win most weeks. And then he was also able to be the highest scorer in this league with Dalton Schultz having no catches. So I'm thinking, even with buys coming up and everything, Top Flight Hooker's looking pretty good, honestly. He's got guys like Zeke Elliott on the bench. He might have a little bit of a problem at receiver, but I think he's good enough to make moves or do what he needs to do to win.
And I'm looking at his team for this week, and he's prepared for Devontae Adams to get suspended. And we didn't actually even touch on that, but and it looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown's on bye. He's got him on the bench, and he just fires up Zeke Elliott, and he just has enough there that he just starts firing up guys like that. And I mean, guys like Darius Slayton, it looks like he's going to start him this week, but 16 points last week, so that's not a bad starter to, a bad guy to put out there, is if you can get a guy that puts up 16. So, I mean, that's the past a little bit and maybe chasing points, but it's something that, he's got pieces like that on the bench that he can just go start to fire up. So I agree with you. I think he's in a pretty good situation as far as that goes. And then just to kind of highlight quickly, the Clownheads redraft won P-Jags with a 330.31, 3-2 overall record. Number 4 seed. This is his first week of being the top spot. And then Clownheads redraft 2, G.L. Reed with a 269.75, a 4-1 overall record. Number 3 seed, weeks 3 and 5, the top spot. And just to kind of highlight, I got a loss in both of these leagues this week as my first loss. So sitting at 4-1 in both of these leagues. So I got knocked off, and actually I was reflecting upon the clown leagues. I'm in 8 of them total. So 6 dynasties and these 2 redrafts, and I lost in all 8 leagues this week. So I just kind of took an over here. So and I really was doing well in the redraft. So pretty excited about where they go and how they're going to go, but definitely stumbled this week. Looking ahead, week 6 preview, and I think we've got a lot of interesting things coming up in week 6, and we'll just kind of throw some questions to you guys, but just wanted to highlight that bye week start this week. So we're going to have 28 teams to choose players from. And so Detroit, Tennessee, Las Vegas, and Houston are all on bye. What that does for us as far as how the slate works out, we have a Thursday night game, which is going to be Chicago versus the Commanders. And then we've got the 8 early games in that early slate. So if you're a red zone person like me, you'll watch the Octagon, and you'll see all 8 games at one time. And then 3 late Sunday afternoon games, and then the Sunday night game and the Monday night game. So I kind of feel like this is sort of like the traditional slate with 14 games, total, and just one on Thursday, one on Sunday night, one on Monday night, and the 8-3. That's a very typical, slate of how things, go, and are very manageable, where we can almost see most of the plays. If you're like me, you watch a lot of those games, where those 2 fewer games really help. Just to kind of bring in some of the trades that we're seeing, and Justin, each week, if you're kind of new to the show, will break out some trades that he's seen throughout the week. And so I'm going to put the first one up on the board. It looks like this came from the Clownhead community somewhere. I think maybe from the Elite 8. And Justin, break it down for us. Tell us about it. What were your initial thoughts? And then I'll ask Brad to weigh in, and then I'll just kind of recap where I am with this trade.
Well, the Dolch Dynasty traded away quite a haul of players and picks to receive back Njoku, Josh Allen, and Kenneth Walker. I believe this trade was made before Rashard Penny's injury. So that one player set it up for him quite nicely. I mean, he still gave away T.J. Hawkinson, which was coming off one of the biggest games of his career. Jerry Jeudy, which with Russell Wilson, I don't know, he's playing right now. I steer clear of him in every possible instance I can make. Justin Fields with Chicago not passing the ball too much. These last 2 games, I think they low 20 attempts per game passing, low uptick from where they started. And then a young tight end, Daniel Bellinger from the New York Giants. There's another up and coming young tight end, which I really like his possibility here in the near future with them. He's been quite consistent, 3 to 5 catches. I think this past game he ran one in for a touchdown on the goal line, and then for then a 23 first, 23 second, and a 23 and another 23 first. And those picks are from different players. So it looks like the dynasty might still have his original um, player picks in the near future, and Millery got quite the haul for Josh Allen, Kenneth Walker, and David Njoku. So this one I think is fairly even, quite a bit of haul for Josh Allen and Kenneth Walker. I pretty much count those. Let's see, Josh Allen equivalent to the 223 first, second, and Fields. Kenneth Walker equivalent to Hawkinson and Judy. Well, let's say just Hawkinson and Njoku for Judy and Bellinger. So I really like this trade for both sides for the future. What do you guys think?
What do you think, Brad?
I think it's a pretty even trade, honestly. I think you gotta give up a lot to get a guy like Josh Allen. So I think he gave up a lot of pieces, but I think he got the guy he was really going for. So I like the trade, honestly.
I think the trade is even, right? So I think the trade is even. I always get concerned when I see big trades like this. I think you guys will notice that I'll very rarely make a big trade like this because it feels like it makes my brain hurt looking at it. I feel like, and I'm not wishing this upon him, but if Josh Allen were to break his leg tomorrow and turn Andrew Luck on us, this thing blows up like crazy. Now, on the other side, if Josh Allen just did what he just did, Rashad Penny breaks his leg, which really happened, and those first-round picks become the 11th and 12th pick in the draft next year, they're a bunch of duds. Like, you just got nothing for Josh Allen. And so I almost feel like whichever side I have, I just keep it just so I don't lose. Like, so I don't
Yeah.
I feel like I've traded away more losses than I've kept more losses by not trading away. Like, I guess when I err on the side of, and so if you were to force me, like, right, if you were to force me to make a side of this trade of which side I want, I probably want the 2 picks and the 4 players because I could probably single piece them off and make money on them, so to speak, and sell them for profits. But man, if I have Josh Allen, I don't really want to give him up. I mean, my favorite trade of all time is the trade I traded Josh Allen, and I got 3 firsts, 3 seconds, 3 thirds, Cam Akers, and all kinds of stuff. Like I just got all kinds of players, and it's probably like my favorite trade of all time back in 2020, before Josh Allen was anything, and yet it turned into Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, and I mean, like I got I think I got Trey Lance too, and I mean, I was just getting all kinds of stuff for Josh Allen. So it turned into like this crazy trade. But having said that, I think it's really tough. So that's my take. I think it's even. I understand it, that's what I try to do with trades is I try to understand, where did people come from, why would they make a trade, and then where it is. Trade number 2, Justin, take it away. Which side do you like of it? It looks like Ryan for Ferguson and a 2023 second.
I really like the Ferguson and 2023 second side. I myself am a Matt Ryan owner in quite a few dynasty leagues, and I am not happy with him. If I can personally get a second for him, I'd be thrilled. I mean, you get a 23 second and Ferguson, a tight end with the for the Dallas Cowboys there, with him coming in this year. Of course, your first year tight end, it's very difficult to consistently get on the field. even though we saw Pat Fryermuth and Pitts do it last year. So I really would, and I'm on the side of Ferguson and the 23 second pick.
And how about you, Ryan? Which side do you want?
I think with how Ryan is playing right now, I'd take the second, but I also think maybe the guy selling Matt Ryan is maybe doing it a little early. I think he could still be worth even a little bit more to a desperate owner once he goes off, and I think he has better weeks ahead of him.
I'm gonna go on the same thing that I said the last time. I'm not making this trade. If I've got, I don't ever want to acquire Matt Ryan. Doesn't matter. I'd rather kind of take a 0 than have Matt Ryan just because he's way too old, and that means that like he isn't going to help my team win, and he isn't going to help my team rebuild. Like there's just no purpose there for that, so I don't want to acquire Matt Ryan. Like if I'm one quarterback away from winning, it sure as heck won't be Matt Ryan. I guess the only way I would trade this is if I was losing and I had a ton of quarterbacks and I just won another one. I might take the Matt Ryan side. I would say is that there's no chance that I would ever trade Matt Ryan for this package, even in a 3-point PPR league of Ferguson. And the reason I say that is I think I could get a good bit more than this for Nick Foles as the backup quarterback. Like I sell backup quarterbacks for more than this, because when it comes down to week 12 and 13 and 14, people need to hedge their bets and they need that backup quarterback. And those backup quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, they bring first round picks. So if I let a starting quarterback go for less than a first round pick, then I've kind of cheapened my backup quarterback price tag. So I kind of run around and make sure that these things don't happen, or else monopolize them so that if they do, I can force them to make other mistakes with trades. So I guess I wouldn't want to be on either side of it, to be honest. Like I just wouldn't want to make this trade. I mean, I understand it, and those kind of things happen in leagues, and I just kind of bite my tongue and don't say a word and say, okay, I guess I got to just wait a little longer and produce more value.
Yeah.
And hope that these guys make some other mistakes. On Ferguson, I like the player, but I think there's like the guy Hendershot or something is another rookie tight end in Dallas, and so I feel like they both are splitting time there at tight end too. So that's the other reason that they say I'm not even sure which one is the better one of the two. So there's two of them, and anyway. So I mean, I get the dart throw, but I'd want like a Jordan Love coming back. Like I could now, if you had Jordan Love as part of this, then I can understand it because now we have another bet on a quarterback that maybe or maybe not is something that I could use. So then I would be really inclined to make a trade, because now I have a piece that could turn into something. It might not, but at least I have a piece that could be something. So that would be kind of my take on this. The final trade, we've got Kyler Murray moving out for Tua and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I'm looking at Thursday the 6th, so just 5 days ago. So we knew that Tua was in concussion protocol, and then we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then we have Kyler Murray, who is kind of underperforming. So Justin, what do you think of this? Which side do you want of this trade? And just for context sake, I'm guessing it's probably a little bit shallower league, right? Not as many starting spots.
Yes, much shallower, and only a 10-man league.
Okay.
PPR league, one quarterback. But in this is one of my home leagues that I did just right before the main Thursday night kickoff game when I was out there in Vegas. But this one, in this league, you have to vote on trades, and I do not like voting on trades. So it sat there on the block for 2 days, and they agreed upon it, even knowing that Tua might sit out, and knowing that Tua is consistently, I think he's still not ready to start limited practicing. It could be even longer than 2 games with him. on how scary and this situation with both concussions for him. So he might sit out for a few more weeks. But luckily, this guy has Joe Burrow as his other quarterback. So he was pretty much trying to look for the upgrade over Joe Burrow for long term. So he didn't take too much of a hit, but the Zoltans in this league here, they are actually the second worst team in the league. So I think he just said screw it and accepted the trade because he was already before this game at 0-4, 0-3 before this game.
Which side do you like, Justin, of this? Which one do you want?
I don't like either.
Okay. So you wouldn't make the trade.
No.
How about you, Brad? What would you say is what do you?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't make this trade,
On
especially knowing all the pretext there now. If there's a guy that's 0-4, I don't know why you would get rid of Tua and Clyde and for Kyler, and I guess the other way, like I don't know why the other team would want to acquire Tua and Clyde when they have Kyler. I don't know.
Just one last piece of context, I guess I'd like to know: is it 2 running back start? Is that what you have?
Yes, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, flex.
So how I would view this, or kind of how I break this down, and this is kind of, I'm glad you brought this trade because this is so a little bit different than maybe what the Clownhead community especially is used to. Is this redraft or is it dynasty?
Redraft, yes.
Okay, so it's redraft too, so another complexity there. So in redraft, right, 10-team league, we start 1 quarterback. We're trying to get a top 10 quarterback. I would say that probably Tua is not a top 10 quarterback. Even when healthy, he's going to be struggling to be a top 10. And if I have Burrow, then Tua is kind of a 0. Like, he doesn't even matter to me because Burrow is going to be a top 6 quarterback probably. So, Tua is going to be 12, 14, 15, that range in most cases. So now I'm getting Kyler. So I kind of like that. It would really depend on me. I'd probably want the Kyler side on this trade, but I would have to make sure that I had enough running back depth because you want to have how many top 15 running backs? You'd like to have 2 top 15 running backs. If you're playing in a 20 team with 20 running backs starting, you can have 2 of the top 15 and then have Clyde as another one. Then maybe you could upgrade your quarterback and kind of like, let's go. But especially if he's 0-4, right? Let's say he's 0-4, maybe that's a way to become 1-4. I don't know. Like that's the only thing I was thinking is that it might be. That's my take. And if I could just kind of throw Tua in like it's something, then that seems like a ploy. I'm kind of chuckling because it feels like, so we have a guy that plays in the Elite 8, Dan, who just kind of wins a lot and he's in Brad and my 10-team dynasty league, and he just kind of always wins, right, Brad? And I feel like that's a trade he would make. He would package that Tua and Clyde and take back the Kyler side. Like, you see him making that trade,
Absolutely.
Brad? And I guess I think, you know what, that's kind of how I think that would be his thought of it. It's like, look, okay, I want to have 2 top 15 backs. I have 3. I'm going to package that, and I'm going to move up the quarterback realm, assuming, again, that Tua was his number 1, and then he didn't have anything else, and he could probably pull up to Kyler, who, when Kyler's on, I think in 2021, we were drafting Kyler as the 3rd best quarterback in the league, if I remember right. So,
he's good.
Right now we're having this recency bias where he's not doing anything, and maybe he's not a thing. But I think once his legs get going, he'll be worth something. I mean, I don't know, maybe not. And, he's got the ability to be a decent quarterback. And then I like Burrow. I feel like Burrow is a gamer, and he had a brutal start last year as well. So I'm kind of thinking that, Burrow's another guy that's good. And not to say that Tua is not, but I think that Tua is a very much a system quarterback. And so before that, he's doing well in Mike McDaniel's system, but I think you'll see that'll become more Jimmy G-esque than Joe Burrow-esque as the season goes. And not that Jimmy G's bad, it's just that's where it kind of is. Like, he's not scrambling around and running with his legs to get, cracking the code, and that brings me to another thing. I did hear an interesting stat that's why Herbert isn't quite as effective this year as he stopped running. I don't know what you guys have noticed about Herbert, but I think that we're not talking about Herbert near as much because he doesn't have that cheat code beside him of the running, ability he had last year. And so maybe that's what Kyler's deal is too. I did watch a little bit of Kyler this past weekend. I thought, man, he really was running pretty well. So, that's kind of those things. I think I would actually take the Kyler side. So you guys were taking neither. I'm taking Kyler in this one. So I just need to be a little bit of a contrarian, I guess, on the trades. But thanks, Justin, for bringing those trades.
Absolutely.
I think that just kind of watching around the Clownhead community, people are looking for what are people bringing and why, and so on trades, and so it's always good to kind of discuss them. And I think what's even probably more important than the fact that none of us agreed on very much on the trades is that's really the landscape of fantasy football, and especially dynasty football, is not only do we all have these different values, not making mine right or anybody else's right or wrong, or Justin or Brad's right or wrong, but they can all come out way different. And I even think that what teams are good, we all rated teams whether they were good, and we couldn't figure out, we're not doing very well if you were to rank us on how well we thought people would do. And then to say, well, maybe we just all suck, but that's not the case either, because I play in 4 flock leagues, and they did a ranking 1 through 12. They're all 12-team leagues, and they had me ranked like 11th or 12th, and in 3 of the 4, and 7th in another. And the 3 of the 4 that they had me ranked 11th and 12th, I'm in the playoffs after 6 or 5 games. So I'm in the top 6 in all 3 of those. And the team that they had me ranked 7th, I'm in 11th place. So, they too couldn't figure out who was good or who wasn't, or at least not with my team. Like they had no idea what made a team good. And it wasn't that they weren't smart. It's just that it's so unpredictable. And so I guess I don't like to ever be too critical with trades. I seek to understand, but I think that it's hard to get a good grasp of what is going to make sense. And, I drafted a lot of Rashad Penny, and that looks pretty dumb right now, right? I mean, that looks pretty dumb. And, but it looked pretty good the week that he had all those yards, So, the people that drafted Jonathan Taylor in the first round, they look kind of dumb right now because he's not producing anything, yet. Even when he's healthy, he hasn't produced. But we might all have a different opinion in week 10, because that he's back and running strong. So I guess I say all that to say that, that's, what trades can. And I'm looking forward to see what happens next week in the trade market, because I think there's going to be a lot of trades coming this week. So stay tuned next week. Justin will bring some more trades, and we'll break them all down as well. Looking at the quarterback spreadsheet, I know we kind of brought this out a little bit, but just kind of want to highlight all-in quarterback. It's something that we highlighted before the year started, and it's a draft strategy that I've been implementing, especially in 2 quarterback leagues, where you can really monopolize the quarterback position as the most important position. And this week we're going to start with only having 28 starters. So what's kind of ironic, though, about that is, we began the year with 32 starters, and starting this week, we're going to have 8 different starters, be under center this week than the 32 originals. And then the 4 teams on bye actually have their original starters. So that takes us to 12. So we're only going to have this week 20 of the 32 starters available to us, as early as week 6. And just some kind of novel things that I think to bring out are in the AFC South, we have the same quarterbacks that started the year. And the NFC North, we have all 4 quarterbacks that started the year. But barring that, we'll determine if Russ Wilson does start. But the AFC West could be a division also that we have all the starters. But barring that, we're really on new quarterbacks in every division, and so very few divisions have their starting quarterbacks intact is what the takeaway is there. So getting those backup quarterbacks or handcuffing your quarterbacks is a real strategy and is something that makes a lot of sense. And just to kind of prove that point, I did do that in a best ball league that I'm in. I'm in, well, actually, I think Justin's in that best ball league as well. The Rat Pack, you're in the Rat Pack league, Justin?
Yes.
Okay, so there, I decided that round 19 and 20, I would take the backup quarterbacks just because I couldn't make any roster moves. And my backup quarterback was Andy Dalton and Tyler Huntley. And so Andy Dalton was my last pick in the draft. And he's actually gotten me points in week 4 and week 5 as my super flex. Just randomly, he was the better point getter of who else I had. I also have the injured now Baker Mayfield as my third quarterback, and then obviously with Jameis being hurt, and then I have Lamar. So they're producing numbers in that spot, and I'm in second place. And so not that I'm winning, but it tells me that the 20th round pick is getting points from me at least 2 weeks, and I guess I'm trying to track how many weeks does the 20th round pick actually score for me in my lineup, and that was probably a pretty effective 20th round pick, considering other people were picking, guys that will not get them points very many weeks. So, that handcuffing quarterbacks really is something that maybe in a 2-quarterback league that would make some sense in the future for people that are draft and redraft teams. If quarterbacks go, if they're available on the waiver wire, your leagues, then you can just pick them up. Like, it's fine. And there's no reason to handcuff what is readily available. What other takeaways are there from I'm going to open up the floor to you guys. What other takeaways from week 5 that you want to talk about, i.e. coach changes maybe? Or Justin, do you have anything to add on the Davante Adams? I kind of glossed over that. I saw that on the show sheet. And what happened with Davante Adams and the cameraman and as he was walking off the field?
Oh, so last night after the game, of course, Davante Adams was not happy with the results of it, and he was walking into the locker room towards the tunnel, and the cameraman walked out in front of him, and he just pushed him down and continued walking. But I heard that right before he went and really talked to the media. He made a public apology to the guy, but I heard also that the guy made a report with TMZ. So I'm sure there's going to be another story coming out on it, given his side of it. So we'll see on that side, but it looks like the league is going to possibly suspend Adams after the bye week here for at least one game. Of course, they're probably looking into it, doing their investigation, but looks like he's going to miss week 7 there.
And I just want to add there that I heard just before we filmed here today that I think that they also pressed legal charges against Adams.
Okay.
I hear that just late today, that there's some legal charges pending based on the case, and they are pressing charges. So that might be fairly serious, like an assault charge. It's not like it's prison time, but it is something that once the legal system gets involved and there's legal charges, that the NFL will probably have to, like Justin said, take that pretty seriously and do something once the legal situation has run its course. So it wouldn't be shocking if there was some suspension there unless it's settled. And then, it could be like the Kamara situation, which is ongoing as well. So, it's hard to say what will happen there. But the court of public opinion will play a role, I'm sure, in the situation. And coach firing. I always want to be really careful. I mean, after most of you that know me know that I have a friend that did coach, and while when coaches get fired, people kind of look at the salary that they still get. And while I agree that, Matt Rule, does get $40 million, Matt Rule has a family, and Matt Rule's family now moves, and Matt Rule's kids now leave school. And I mean, we're doing this all in the middle of the school year. And while, yes, they have probably a lot more privilege than other people that don't have that money, it's still a role in the family. And none of us wake up in the morning and say, hey, let me get fired today. But, or very few of us anyway, really try that. And so a lot of times I feel like coaches do get terminated. Sometimes it's based on what they've done or not done, and it's a results-oriented business, and I'm not trying to take that away. But I guess I just always like to highlight the human side. And after seeing a family go through that, doing everything that they could, to try to win football games, and that just didn't work. And that, that's not to say that you shouldn't be fired, but I guess I would also say that maybe the delight in seeing them get fired is kind of a little bit cruel, I guess. So I guess my heart goes out to the Rule family. I'm sure they'll be fine financially, but just kind of thinking that, hey, he gave his heart and soul for 3 years to the franchise, or 2.5 years to the franchise, and they work all the time. And so it just didn't work, and he's moving on, and now excited for the interim coach. He was with the Cardinals, and I feel like he got a bum deal 1 year. Josh Rosen, he gets fired, and then here comes Kyler and Cliff. So this will be a good opportunity, or this will be an opportunity. I don't even know if it's a good opportunity, but an opportunity for him to showcase it. I'm curious to see if the Raiders 2.0 happens there, and like if they just play hard for an interim coach. A lot of times a new voice sometimes will have people play pretty hard. And so what do you guys think? What do you think of the Panthers, PJ Walker, Arena League PJ Walker, and the Panthers? Do you think that they win some games here?
I think they'll surprise us a game or two, but other than that, I don't see them doing too much, because they also fired their defensive coach, play caller also. So there's 2 coach openings there, so they're going to look to fill that. Maybe they just light a fire under all their butts and get to work, do what they're paid to do, and get a few wins out of the belt. Because what they're doing now is not what their fans would consider football.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Brad, what do you think? What do you think the outlook of the Panthers is?
I think they're going to be at the bottom of the league. I don't think coaching was their only issue at all. So I don't think they're going to be very good this year.
I wanted to reach out. I know some people that are tied in with the Panthers, and so my goal was to reach out to them today and didn't get it done. So didn't get to hear any of the inside scoop of what they thought of the move. But I actually kind of taken. I feel like I'm the contrarian person here, and not that I think they're going to win the division, right? I don't think that, but I think there will be a lit fire, and I guess I go with the premise that if any team that has Christian McCaffrey on it is better than a team that doesn't have Christian McCaffrey. So as long as he's there and not a Buffalo Bill or traded somewhere else, I feel like I was amazed last year when Christian McCaffrey left the game at halftime of that game with an injury. They just did not play well. And when he's on the field, they play better. Now, this year, I didn't see that spark with him. So I guess I'll be interested in seeing, what Christian McCaffrey brings this year.
Right. Definitely agree with some of that. But what do you think the possibility of them trading Christian McCaffrey or DJ Moore?
I think Moore probably does not get traded because his contract is too friendly. And I think that they'll build around him at age 25. Christian McCaffrey, I think they'd be open to trading him. The contract is not friendly, but where they are in the course of the year, a team like the Buffalo Bills is very interested. So I could see a broker deal that's NFC to AFC. And honestly, the Bills would be like, let's go. Like that would feel like the missing piece to a Super Bowl juggernaut. At least the rest of the league would be like, oh man, I don't think we can beat them. Like I think all of a sudden they ship out Zach Moss and maybe James Cook, and all of a sudden, the Bills are like, yep, we're good. Like, we're really good, and a draft pick or two, and the Bills would be like, yeah, we're set. We're set. We're going places here. And,
right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brian?
I agree. I think McCaffrey definitely has more of a chance to get traded. I think if the Panthers weren't thinking about it, it would be the wrong move. If I were them, I would get rid of McCaffrey for some value while they still can, and while they're still going into a full rebuild, obviously.
Right.
Now after the year, I could see DJ Moore possibly being on the move, but I think people are looking at the trade of AJ Brown from Tennessee to the Eagles and thinking that the Eagles did pretty well, and the Titans, they have an injured rookie that we don't even know about. Like that's the result of the trade for them. Yeah, there's some salary relief, but they're sure not as good a football team. Not even close. I mean, Treylon Burks, it was basically Treylon Burks for A.J. Brown, and that isn't working out well. A.J. Brown's playing like a beast on an undefeated team, and Treylon Burks is on the IL.
For a second time. For a second time, he's on IR.
Yeah, so, I mean, that doesn't – and they don't even know if he's good yet. Like, we don't even know. We think he might be good. Like, I think that's where we are. We think he might be good. With A.J. Brown, we know he's excellent. It's not even – we're not even wondering if he's good. We know he's excellent. We know he's one of the best. And so, yeah, I think that rings pretty true to, like, other teams are like, nah, I'm not going to make that same mistake. I mean, I think that got Debo money. That trade got Debo money. That trade got Terry McLaurin money. I think it just created money for the people keeping their own, seeing that trade happen and say, man, that won't be us. Like, we're not gonna, because if you think about it, Treylon Burks came into camp and had like toe injuries, and then all of a sudden Terry McLaurin gets signed and Debo gets signed, and these are like July and August signings. Like, they didn't sign them in May. Like, they weren't signing them when the trade went down. They were signing these guys late in the summer after Treylon got hurt. And so I kind of think that they said, yeah, I think we better sign the guy we know. Like, not let this go to free agency where you get Christian Kirk money. Like that looks out of control. Because we'll never be able to retain him at a real price if we let him get to free agency. So I think that's and I'm anxious to then see Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. These are fifth-year option guys that got turned down and are playing for their contract lives. So I'm anxious to see, how does that roll out? Because to me, the Giants are in a kind of a conundrum. I think they like the Raiders said, hey, we're going to let those running backs go. And now the Raiders are in a little bit better spot. They could franchise tag Jacobs and get him at least at $10 million or whatever running backs get paid. But the Giants could do that, but then they've got a bigger problem with Danny Dimes. So they've got to make a choice. Do we franchise Danny or do we franchise Saquon? Do we extend one of them? And neither of them come cheap. Somebody's going to get the payday. Somebody's going to get a bag or somebody's going to walk away. Like, it's going to come down to who gets the bag, who walks, is what I'm thinking, because we're only one franchise tag, and I don't know what that looks like. I've yet to see the running back that gets the second contract that does well. So I've got to think you got to franchise him and let Danny either get a bag or walk away. And I don't know what you do, to be honest. Like, I guess we'd have to see that in 10 weeks. 10 more weeks, so be at week 16, we might have a better idea if Danny's the real thing, or if they ought to go with rookie. So, yeah, that's I'm on the side of the. I guess back to Carolina. I think that Carolina will be a little bit better than we expect. I could see them getting an Atlanta Falcon win, a New Orleans Saint win. Just kind of getting some of those types of wins against those kind of teams and surprising and playing well for their head coach, Steve Wilkes. And, maybe it'll be, won't be a bottom feeder team, but, they won't be, they'll be a top 8 draft pick, bottom 18 probably is what I would suspect. And then if they trade Christian McCaffrey, I think that'll be the heart and soul leaving, and so then I think it'll be pretty rough. So that's where we are. Do you guys see any other coaching changes happening mid-season, or do you think we're going to ride out with the coaches we have for the time being?
I think they're gonna everything's gonna stick in place for right now for this year.
Gotcha. Well, I guess I just looked down at the time and realized we've been at this for just over an hour, so I guess we ought to end this now. Thank you guys for joining us on the Fantasy Football Clown Show. Until next time, I'm Ed. That's Brad and Justin. We'll see you recapping week 6.